The southern U.S. state of Alabama has executed Kenneth Smith, the first death row inmate known to die by oxygen gas. Now, experts say that this entirely new method of execution in the United States could actually lead to excessive pain and even amounts to torture. Now, human rights campaigners have criticized this contentious death technique. The United Nations and the European Union have also condemned this gruesome method of executing a convict. Now, the untested method has also reignited a discussion about capital punishment in the United States. Now, Kenneth Smith was convicted of the 1988 murder for hire of Elizabeth Sennett. He was one of only a few prisoners to have survived an execution attempt. In 2022, the Alabama officials had aborted his execution by lethal injection after struggling for hours to insert the needle in his body. In Smith's second trip to the execution chamber on Thursday, the executioners restrained him in a gurney and then strapped a respirator mask to his face. A canister of pure nitrogen was then attached to the mask that, once flowing, deprived him of all oxygen and filled up his lungs with just pure nitrogen, resulting in his death.
Of course, Kim, appeared that Warren Smith was holding his breath as long as he could, and then there's also information out there he struggled against his restraints a little bit, but there's some involuntary movement and some agonal breathing, so that was all expected and is in the side effects that we've seen or researched on nitrogen hypoxia. So nothing was out of the ordinary what we were expecting.
Now, 5 journalists who were allowed to watch the execution said that after the nitrogen began to flow, Smith shook his head and continued to write in the gurney for about 2 minutes and then breathed deeply for several minutes more before his breathing eventually became imperceptible because he was only breathing in pure oxygen. Smith had filed for legal objections in the federal courts before the execution. He claimed that Alabama's new approach amounted to cruel and unusual punishment, which was simply unlawful. Now, Smith's last request to postpone his death was ultimately denied by the conservative majority of the U.S. Supreme Court. Mississippi and Oklahoma states have also authorized the use of nitrogen asphyxiation techniques for execution, although they haven't yet used it so far. Now, the rush of coverage that's been surrounding Smith's execution coincides with a decline in support for the death sentence in much of the United States. And according to official reports, there's been a significant decrease in the number of executions in the United States since 1999, when it had peaked at 98. Apart from this, not only are there fewer death sentences that are being carried out, but fewer courts are also handing out the death penalty for people convicted in the United States of America. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.